We are back.
Oh,
What's going on with you?
Hello, everybody. Today's episode, we're gonna start off with some listener stories.
I got a good one. I had someone message me. I'm trying to find his name real quick. His name is Dom Blind Woman. He's from Anadarko, Oklahoma. He's let's see what tribe he is. He's Cheyenne and Crow. That's a crazy mix right there. So that should tell you about this story I'm getting ready to read off. He sent this story, and I thought it was pretty good, and I sure appreciate him listening and giving us some feedback. Okay, this is what he wrote. He said, "Hey, Chris, I know you like to hear spooky stories, and I think I have one that you might like. I live in Anadarko, Oklahoma, so it was a couple months ago, and I have a pretty bad insomnia, and it comes and goes, so sometimes when it's bad, I'll roll up and smoke before I go to sleep. Anyways, it's like 4 a.m., and I go outside, and it's weirdly quiet, and I don't think anything of it, and I light up. Smoke. No. Smoke a little here, smoke a little there, and on a corner, if you're looking out the door, there's a street in front, and on the right of the house, I was smoking, and I heard someone say, 'Hey,' in a loud whisper, if that makes sense. I looked and didn't see anything, but I got an eerie feeling. But went back to smoking, and not even 2 seconds later, I hear it right behind me to the right, and it said a little louder, but still in a whisper, 'Hey.' I dropped my blunt and took off inside, getting chills. Went out the next day, and my backwoods blunt was gone."
Whoa.
That's crazy.
So that ghost must have smoked it up.
Yeah, God.
Didn't even leave him nothing either. That's rude. No.
Well, it's like that one where that guy, he passed it, remember?
Mm-hmm.
To that ghost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Dang, that's crazy. That is a pretty crazy story, though.
you got one?
So they need some medicinal stuff too. Yeah, I got one. She wants to be remained anonymous, but this one's about Goatman. I'm sure the episode of that's coming soon. We kind of talked about Goatman a little bit. I think we're talking about Deer Woman because we're just kind of talking about entities that have those kind of cursed, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was born in Crow and raised in Washington State. Growing up, I heard the tales of Goatman. I would visit and hear from cousins about him. One summer, I was 15, and my aunt and Crow asked my mom if I could babysit her kids for the summer. My aunt worked at the clinic. One weekend, my cousin said she was going to take me out. Little did I know she was taking me 90 minutes away to Northern Cheyenne Reservation. Long story short, we got ditched by our ride, and we had the idea to walk back and try to hitchhike, hoping someone would pick us up.
Nah, that's crazy.
It's late and dark, and we're walking this highway with three of us talking and hoping someone comes along and picks us up. As we are walking this dark, long highway, I hear hooves walking the same beat. I didn't say anything at first because my cousin and her friends are talking. I keep hearing them until finally, being from Washington and not growing up on the res, I stop and ask, "Do you hear that?" My cousin said, "Keep walking." I tell her no, I hear hooves on the road like horse hooves. She tells me to shut up and keep walking. I'm completely bothered by the sound as we continue walking. Finally, I stop and turn around and look, and the sound stops. My cousin whispers to me and says, "We all hear it, ignore it, it's Goatman."
Ooh.
I don't believe her and think they're messing with me, and I yell, "I don't believe in you." At that instant, I hear the sound of hooves running toward us, and the girls scream and start running away.
Dang.
I start running, and they tell me to run faster because it was Goatman. I pissed them off. A car comes, and the girls wave and stop the car, and the driver lets us in. After we were in the car, the girls are telling this driver that Goatman was following us and how I made him mad. I still not thinking it was true, and the driver said, "Get away and go far from her after morning." We got dropped back off at our original destination, and the girls and cousins told me Goatman had been following us for a while before I heard his hooves, and they ignored it, and how I was the ignorant one to acknowledge his presence and call him out, and the reason he chased us. I didn't see him, but I heard the hooves on the road. Something I will never forget.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty epic, especially when you hear those hoofs. I've never had any experiences with besides one story that I've told before, but that's crazy. That's super crazy.
I know. I don't think I've ever heard a Goatman story.
See, I've heard like on Monster Quest. I think they had maybe a type of episode like that, but I haven't ever heard no Goatman stories. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I always like those kind of stories. They're just very eerie and stuff. But I have another listener story, and of course, she doesn't want to be don't want to be named or anything on here, so I'm going to keep it kind of general. She had told me the story that her aunt passed away, and she got, I don't know, what do you call it, awarded her house, her aunt's house, after she passed away. And so she was kind of fresh out of school, and anyway, she thought it'd be a good opportunity, save some money, move into that place, and stuff like that, So she moved in, she fixed it up and moved in, and she said, I believe she was came in one night from work and fixed herself something to eat, and she got in front of her TV, was sitting there eating. Out of the corner of the room, she heard a real loud flatulence in the corner. And she thought, "Oh, am I just hearing things, or was it on the TV, or what?" And she continues to watch the TV, and I guess pretty soon that, how you say, wavered over to her and gave her a good whiff. And of course it kind of made her sick to her stomach, and she smelt that fart, and she got up and she said, "Dang, man, it might be something outside," and anyway, but then she thought about, it might be a gas leak, or might be, one of the sewer lines or something might have roots in it or something. So next day she had someone, check it out, and check out the gas line and the sewer lines, pipelines, and it was all good. It was all good. So, she just said, well, maybe it's just something passing through or something. So, next night, she's laying in her bed, and she said she's about ready to go to sleep, and she rolled over, and again, big old fart right by her head. It was loud, and it was stink.
God.
And she got scared, so she went running out of that room. And she was, sitting there thinking about it, and then she started getting mad, because whoever this was or whatever it was, basically just farted in her face. So she went in there and turned this light on, to see if there was anybody in there. Of course, there wasn't nobody there. She went outside, looked around, thought maybe it might be some kind of skunk or something. There's an explanation, but then after she thought about it, it kind of weirded her out. So she called one of her relatives that is an elder in her tribe, and she asked him. She asked him point blank, can a ghost fart? And of course he asked her to explain. So she told him the story, and he said, well, whose house are you in? And she explained, and said it was my aunt's. And of course, he said, well, you knew, your aunt, she had this, I forget what, like stomach cancer or stomach disease that, took her, and, in her last year or so, it was really affecting her bowels, and, she would have, basically uncontrollable flatulism, and it would be real bad. It was just real sickly,
Rank.
yeah, just real strong. And so he said, it might be something like that, might be her, might be residual stuff. So she wanted to ask me the same question, can ghosts do that? And I know they say residual, a lot of times residual is kind of like a recording in the air. But, to me, I don't know, because, she talks about the odor that goes along with it. And, the way she explains it's pretty bad. So, the only thing I could tell her was, might be your aunt, spirit there for some reason, somehow, and maybe there's something that, she's trying to communicate with you on. And so, you might want to think about that. So I thought that was a pretty good story. And I thank everybody that's sending in these stories, and listening and all that kind of stuff. A hoe and my dough.
Now, that's pretty crazy, though, about, a ghost farting. I couldn't help but laugh because I can just imagine her laying in that bed. And, it's almost like... and you just... It's like someone just like farts in your face, like literally is squatting down and farting in your face. That's what I imagine when I started thinking about that. That's just crazy though, for that to be so strong. Like, do you think? I guess I don't know if you asked her this question, but did you ask her maybe did her grandma did she have a real strong presence about her? When she was living, or did you anything?
I didn't have a chance to ask her. I didn't even think. I was too busy kind of listening to the story, and. I really thought it was kind of a cool story, because you always hear ghosts doing all other kind of stuff, and I guess that too.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. Whoa. That is crazy though. I mean, those. I mean, the three stories that told her, it's so crazy because they're all different. That's one thing I love about our show is just we get stories from everyone. Basically, family members and things of that nature, and. They share stories like that, and the Goatman story, and then also too the blunt story. I mean, that's a crazy story. That really is truly a crazy story. But I guess Chris Russell, do you have one more story? Nobody? No story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a long one. Bear with me, everybody. I'm going to try to... Everything should be right, but this is from the moms down in... I met her and she adopted like all of us as like her sons. But Donna Hall, go follow her at Break Colonization 2021 on TikTok. But so one time during a heavy thunderstorm with wicked lightning and darkness, my babies and I were heading back to Albuquerque from our res in North Dakota. MHA Nation. My son was 5 and my baby was around 5 months. She's a singer, as you know, but what many people don't know about her, she never spoke as a baby. No coos or agoos or nothing. She only sang as she sang words from whatever people she came from. Or from whatever people she just came from. Might even be just celestial, but she sang. I was just used to it. That's how my baby worked. So as we were edging out of the Black Hills in South Dakota, we were almost into Wyoming. My car, which at the time was fully computerized and it was finicky, I started having glitches and it shut off like a light switch. Thank God we were traveling at night because there was no traffic to worry about, but no cell phones. Then it was 3 a.m. and the only light was the full moon. I didn't even know it was a full moon. My son's window was cracked in about 2 inches, just barely, and we were stranded on the same side of the road where I luckily coasted up to. I tried to get out to go check on Ashley, but the door wouldn't open. The car was totally dead and fear grew into my stomach. I tried to clown around and also calm my babies. Kyler was scared. Soon, well, a bit later, the smell filled the car. We covered our noses. I reached back to see if she was okay as I blurted out, what, gross, like, what's the smell? She was silent. She was okay. Then she started to sing, and that soothed us all into pure calm. Then Kyler starts to hyperventilate, his shoulders up and down, up and down, up and down, faster and smaller each time until he slowly turned his face towards me, and I watched as his hand reached toward my leg and his lips contorted into a straight, open, fearful grimace. His eyes full of terror. He made a movement that meant look behind me. So I did, and it was a dark, shadowy person looking in the window right beside me.
Whoa. Wow.
She stood, turning her head as if trying to see what the sound was coming from. I froze. I was frozen in terror for a minute until my baby really started singing, loud and rhythmic. Yeah, rhythmic. The Bigfoot moved her attention to the backseat where Ashley was. I prayed so hard you don't even know, but somehow I knew she would be okay, that we would all be okay. Anyway, what seemed like an eternity, she sang and it watched. Yellow eyes turning a pink metallic blue once a while. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. She loved my daughter. Then she was gone as soon as she arrived. The car locks clicked and I got the courage to go outside in the dark. Rain had turned to drizzle, the moon slightly covered over, and not another person, car, or house for many miles. Buckhorn, Wyoming was about 15 miles away, but still, that's far. So I sniffed the air, and no more wet dog or horse or cow poop smell, just fresh rain on the grassy, muddy forest around me. So I rushed open to the door. My son kissed and hugged him, then went to my baby. I asked her, what was that? She smiled. I was amazed at her courage. I stumbled in a hole, almost dropped my bub. I put her back in the car seat and watched my steps. I was standing in a footprint. The water draining along the shoulder was slowly filling the indentation, and my foot was engulfed in its size. I froze for a second, gathered my thoughts, and then told myself, get out of there and get in, get buckled up, started the car. Thankfully, with tears of amazement, fear, relief, and calm, I prayed the car to turn over, and it did. Like new, too. My son, he was never so scared and safe before. I said, I know. His window was still cracked. I know she was yelling goodbye and thanking Ashley for her song because the cry that came out of her mouth, I'll never hear her like that again. It was lonesome, sad, powerful, mournful, but at the same time grateful because Ashley was not only singing but reaching up at the window smiling when she was, and so was the Bigfoot, like they knew each other.
Man.
And I, for one, think they might have.
Wow, that's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Man, that's got me speechless. I'm curious. That's, you know, they say that, you know, Bigfoot does have some, you know, supernatural abilities, you know. I've heard this is, you know, this might be something kind of, you know, off topic. Maybe we can talk about it another time, but they do have the ability to do things, you know, like disappear, things of that nature. But no, that's a great story. That is a great story.
Yep.
So this Chris, do you want to lead us off, or do you?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and lead us off.
Okay.
This episode, we wanted to talk a little bit about something that a lot of our listeners have asked us and requested us and almost begged us to do. So, these guys heard you guys' request and definitely want to try to do our very best. There's a lot of things we might leave out, but we wanted to talk a little bit about Skinwalker Ranch. And I don't know a whole lot about the ranch itself, but I know they got several TV shows, movies, that are out there about Skinwalker Ranch. And my understanding, you can also even go out there and pay good money and do an investigation out there as well. But with several TV shows, that I've watched on Skinwalker Ranch, that episode 1, 2, and 3, basically they're trying to find out, what is roaming that Skinwalker Ranch, and they kind of give you the story that, I guess the Utes and the Navajo didn't get along with one another, and I guess the Navajos, basically cursed that land. And so that's why, a lot of that paranormal activity happens out there. They got a lot of different things. You have cattle, how you say it?
Mutilations.
Yeah. And they have like UFOs, but they call it something else. What
UAP. Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Well, I'm going to be old school, and I'm going to say UFO. So, but, they got a lot of, lights, flashing around out there. And, they got, different things roaming around and stuff like that. So, I watched that show, and the cool thing I think about the show itself, they got these... I don't even know if they're real scientists, but they say they're scientists. And they got government workers, out there that, is trying to find out what's going on. But another thing I think is weird is they talk about the men in black, sometimes show up, if you're doing something you're not supposed to be, there'll be a plane show up, or, these guys will start coming around asking questions. And my understanding, they also have a military base near there.
Yep.
And so that kind of makes sense. I'm sure if you get too close to that base, they'll send individuals out there, and they got a lot of things like that going on, So anyway, that's what that show kind of goes over. I don't know if you guys got any input on this or what.
So the show, it's called what is it? Hunt for the Skinwalker, I think is what the name of the show. The history of Skinwalker Ranch, they don't really go into the history as much as there is. But the first ever account of anything ever happening at that ranch was in 1776, and it was from a Spanish Catholic priest. He goes up to the Ute Indians, and he goes, "Hey, I keep seeing this metallic structure flying in the air. What is that?" And he asks the Utes, and the Utes go, "Well, that's our ancestors, coming down to us and watching over us." And that's kind of the description that he got. This is back in 1776. Well, and as you go, the years go on, there's all this stuff going on. Like I said, Chris mentioned the UFOs and these creatures roaming around, and Chris mentioned the beef between the Utes and the Navajo. According to legend, the Navajo and the Utes basically, I wouldn't say curse the land, but I'd probably say that's the only word I can think of. They basically curse that ridge that's up above Skinwalker Ranch. And they call it the Path of the Skinwalker, and that's kind of how that became Skinwalker Ranch, is because of the Utes and the Navajo, and they're beefing, and they're doing medicine to each other, and always not getting along. So as the years go on, that's the 1800s. You get to obviously you get to like 1950, and this couple buys the ranch, and when they buy the ranch, there's all this weird stuff, and they were denying. Actually, this is kind of crazy. When more recent times came up, they said nothing happened on that ranch, but all their neighbors were experiencing stuff. Well, there's a family that bought the land after them called now they had two names that people called them. It was the Gorman family or the Sherman family. And the Sherman family, I'm going to call them the Shermans because that's how I'm comfortable in saying it. Well, they bought the land. And the first week they moved in, nothing was happening. But the first, I just heard a click. I'm sorry. I was like, dang, getting kind of spooked out. That's the front door, though. Anyways, so the first week they moved in, they noticed off in the distance, the dad and the son were, kind of getting stuff loaded up in the house and, trying to just get everything situated. And they noticed off in the far corner of the pasture, they see this black, like a big mass, and it's coming right towards them. Well, beginning of the week, they loaded all their cattle out in this corral. And so when this black figure, it was basically a big wolf, big dog looking creature. Mm-hmm. And this thing is just casually making its way up to the family. Well, when the wolf gets there, the dad just pets the wolf on the back, thinking, and he's the way the Sherman father mentioned was like, this thing was like it was tamed. It sat, it laid down. He said this thing was like tamed. It was like a house dog, basically. Well, one of the calves was sticking its nose through the fence to sniff this, just to sniff what's going on, and that wolf grabs the calf by its nozzle and tries to pull it through the corral. The dad and the son are beating on this wolf on the back, and they're really going to town, really kicking it. Well, the son then goes and gets a gun and shoots it right into the wolf, and the wolf didn't even flinch. And so they go back into the house, and or the son goes back into the house, and he brings out this basically a big game hunting rifle, shoots this thing, and it finally let it go. But pieces of flesh came off too. He said it didn't wince, it didn't even scream or cry. It just basically just walked its way back to where it came from. And the Sherman father, told this story to Rob Bigelow and all his reporters. And when they followed this wolf back into where it came from, they followed the tracks all the way down to this creek. There's blood. They can see stuff. It's flesh and blood. They know it's flesh and blood. They get to the creek, and as soon as they see the mud where the big old paw prints are, it's gone. And they crossed the river and the creek, couldn't find anything of it. But that flesh, when they got back, after they noticed it was decaying. Like it shriveled up, the blood was gone. So they know it's flesh and blood, but what was it really? Well, after the Shermans get it, they had a bunch of weird stuff going on, like... for instance, the son and his friends were cutting lumber one day off a tree. They had it all nice stacked up about 100 yards from the house. They come back and that wood is moved back to where it was, where they cut it. Well, another thing, the wife, she would go get groceries. She'd put all the groceries up. She'd go leave out the room for a second, come back, and the groceries are all back in the bags. These things started escalating. And, originally the mother said that these figures were walking outside the house at night, and she started noticing them outside. Then she noticed them inside. So that's when she thinks. So they did something, to let them in, and they didn't know what they did. So they're telling this information, all to Robert Bigelow, who ended up buying the property, I think in the 90s, and he brought out all these. He had his own organization called NIDS, like it's NIDS, which is like I mean, it's like something, Discovery of Science Institute or whatever. I don't know. National Institute of Discovery Science, I think. And he buys the land, and he goes and puts all these corral panels, because one thing that the Sherman family, they were having a lot of cattle mutilations. Like the cattle would have like eyes missing. Sometimes they'd have genital parts missing, certain organs missing, and they couldn't explain it. So the NIDS people brought in cattle mutilation experts. Because that phenomenon was all over the country, and so he brought those people in, and they really started really trying to do everything they can to figure this out, and come to find out that once they did something to the ranch, it always retaliated. It always do something in return. So it's that ranch has so much weird history. And, there's a really good documentary called I think it's The Hunt for the Skinwalker, I believe. It's a documentary by Jeremy Corbell. It actually interviews native people. And he gets, he wants to know what this Uinta Basin's about. And he really goes into interviewing, the native lore and, all this information that, is kind of left out. When you hear about the Skinwalker Ranch, you hear it just for, it's this, everyone thinks it's that one thing, but it's a multitude of things. And, just to get your opinion on that, Russell, when you hear that, what do you think, after kind of the information?
Where is it? Where's Skinwalker Ranch?
Utah.
It's in Utah. And I didn't know it dated back that far. And why is it called Skinwalker Ranch? Like, why did they pick that name to call it?
Because the Navajo and the Utes, it's the Navajo. They would basically curse that. They curse that land,
Okay.
and they use skinwalkers to harass the Utes.
Okay.
They also have caves down there that even today they say people that are practicing that kind of medicine, I guess what you might say, they use those caves to, I guess how you say, initiate themselves into that skinwalker. I don't know what you call it, skinwalker cult or whatever you want to call it. I don't mean no disrespect to anybody that's practitioner or whatever might be listening to this, but again, this is just the general information that I know of. That you had several ghost shows that went out there and did their investigations. Some of them even went into some of those caves, and they would see altars and ash, burnt, and sacrifices in there. And of course, they always say that was somebody practicing that kind of, I don't know, what you'd call it, witchcraft or Indian medicine, however you want to refer to it. They would be practicing that. Also on there, you have a lot of sightings of those kind of entities as well that roam that land, and they talk about, some of those skinwalkers, they're like shapeshifters. They not only are scary looking wolves, but they can be other entities, other like animals, but there's always something different about those animals that, you know for a fact that is one of those shapeshifters. There's just something different about that animal, that you will see. And, if you ever travel, around that way or around Navajo country or Pueblo country or Apache country or, Pimas or any of those tribes that are down in that area, they all have stories of those skinwalkers, and they all have different beliefs of them, but, basically it's all the same. There were good ones and bad ones, and kind of talking about the skinwalker, I don't know what you call folklore or mythology or however you want to say it, my understanding that the Skinwalker in itself wasn't didn't start out evil. You know, it was a war tool, my understanding, you know, to help them get from point A to point B, because you know you had a lot of tribes in that area that didn't get along with one another, so they would use this ability to survive if they had to travel into enemy territory. And so the original Skinwalker was not evil. That's what I was told. But, you know, again, that's what I was told. So, you know, nowadays you hear more of the negative side of, you know, these Skinwalkers, you know, the bad side about it. But, you know, if you talk to some of those older ones, you know, they had, you know, better stories of them, or you know, they consider them practitioners. They can also heal you, you know, some sort. So, you know, it wasn't always, you know, a bad thing. You know, like I said, you know, there's many different tribes down in that area that kind of practice that style of Indian medicine, as you might say. I was down around that, I forget how you say it, Santa Ana Pueblos, down there, over there by, you know, Santa Fe on the other side. You know, I was at their reservation for some training and a conference. And, you know, first time I got there was some ladies I used to work with, and you know, at these health clinics, so they know who I was. You know, they said, "Dang, that guy, he's here." So, and one of them said, "You know, you're always asking about scary stories. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. So we're gonna show you. So we're gonna take you out." And they was telling me those stories about those Skinwalkers around that reservation. And anyway, I was really listening, you know, and they said, you know, if you want to, said, we'll take you to a place that our people, you know, consider, you know, where our Skinwalkers roam around, you know, but they said there's rules to it, though. Said, you know, one, you know, you got to go with good intentions. So if you have good intentions, then you'll have a good visit. But if you go with bad intentions, you know, you're going to have a possible bad visit, or may not come back at all. And they was warning me of that, you know. And anyway, they also said that, you know, if for whatever reason one of these bad ones show up, you will know. Said you'll get that scary feeling. And that's the first kind of, how you say, telltale signs that they're around. Then they said also, if you hear whistling, you know, out there in that desert, said that means they're coming, or they're around. You know, they're trying to communicate with you. And they also said, now listen to that whistle. Listen to it very closely, because the closer the whistle is to you means the farther the way they are. So if you hear that whistle right behind your ear, that means they're far off. So, you know, that they're just warning you, you know. But if you hear that whistle and it's in the distance, you know, it's super close to you, so you better watch out. Whoa. So anyway, you know, of course, I was sitting there listening to them, and, you know, of course, me being me, I was pumped up, you know, and I said, well, let's go do this then. They said, are you sure? They asked me about 3 or 4 times, and I said, what are we waiting for? So anyway, one of the ladies, she got a, I don't know, what do you call it? Kind of like a souped-up golf cart. You know,
like a Polaris or whatever they call those things with the roll cage on it.
Yeah, I think it went like 45 miles an hour or something like that. It wasn't like super slow, but it didn't go super fast. So we was cruising through that desert. She took me to by this river. She said, a lot of these guys they'll practice stuff down here by this river. I forget what the name of that river. Anyway, and she started taking me in different places, kind of telling me a little bit of history of that reservation, and where some of these good ones go. And then she started showing me where, if you needed, one of these, I don't know how you say, I don't want to say evil, but I'll just say not so good practitioner, and maybe you have a grief with somebody, or need to settle something, you go over here, you leave certain things. So she was taking me through that area, and I was just curious, of course, me being me, asking, crazy questions, I said, well, how can you call them to you? How do you get them to you? That's what I want to know. I said, I want to see one, I'd like to just, and about that time, she said, don't ask that, she said, because you just asking that right now, you're going to start seeing them. And we was way out, in this desert, part, way from the hotel, and we're in this little, like I said, it was like a little golf cart. And sure enough, right after she said that, we start seeing these shadows, kind of off in the distance, and they were fast. And I was sitting there thinking, man, are those spirits, or are those people just, running around out here? Because this was a conference, and you had Indians running around, so you might have some wild stuff going on. I don't know, but anyway,
like that Res Dogs episode.
I know it. I was like, dang. So they smoking stuff off. No, it's good. I don't know. I was like, dang. But
start telling off on yourself now.
I know it, but anyway, I start seeing those shadows, and she starts seeing them, and she started getting on to me. She said, "Why'd you even ask that? Now look at them; they're running around." We saw one, and this thing had lights, kind of like a little car, and we seen this one run right past our path, and it was very evident. We both saw it, and we both looked at each other, and I said, "Well, slow down." I said, "I want to see if I can possibly get a picture, or something." She goes, "Are you crazy?" And about that time, we heard a whistle, and it was pretty close. And I asked her, I said, "Did you hear that?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "We're getting out of here now." I said, "Well, it sounded, real close." I said, "Can you slow down? Maybe I can take a picture." And she goes, "No." She said, "If you want to take a picture, you get out." And I said, "All right."
You got that in you now.
So she's flooring this thing, going back to the hotel, and you can hear it really, maxing out, but again, it maxed out at like 45 miles an hour, and so we're going, and these shadows are getting closer and closer, and that whistling is getting further and further away. And she mentioned that. She goes, "Man, these things are getting near us." She said, "I'm going to try my best to get us back to the hotel as quickly as we can." And I was kind of sitting there thinking, well, I'd like for her to kind of slow down, but, she's already pumped up and upset and everything. So we finally made it back to the hotel. But right before we got probably, I don't know, a good distance from the hotel, we could see the hotel actually, we heard that whistle, and it sounded like it was way in front of us. And about that time, we seen another one of those black shadows run right in front of our headlights, and it was probably only 10 feet away.
God.
And of course, she turned that golf cart and almost flipped us. But, we went, around, and we finally made it to the hotel. And of course, she was mad that, she thought I was provoking them, but I wasn't. I just wanted to try to take a picture, see if I could catch one, and on camera or something. But So, I do believe that those things are out there, and whatever was out there in that desert, you know, at this reservation, I know it was real because there was many of them, and they were, very visible. And the thing about it was, every time you would spot one, it was like you would automatically get a cold feeling. So I know whatever or whoever this was had some strong mojo,
Mm.
because that mojo, you could feel it. There was no misunderstanding of that feeling. And so, I do believe those things are going on, and maybe if that's that Skinwalker Ranch, like they said, maybe these tribes didn't get along. I don't know. But, if someone cursed that land, the thing that I think that these shows are showing is that there is proof of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
When they say they curse something, they're going to make sure nothing grows there, nothing's prosperous there. And if you even watch those episodes of this Skinwalker Ranch episodes, they talk about how they try to put cattle out there. They get cut up.
Mm-hmm.
They try to, raise crop. They get no good, and they even try to do scientific experiments. And you got people from NASA out there, doing these tests. None of their equipment will work. Again, what does that curse say?
Yeah.
The curse says nothing's going to succeed out there, no matter what you do. So whoever put that on that land, I believe it's so, because those old ones in that time, they had power.
Mm-hmm.
And I have said that before. Those old ones, they had it. It's us that don't know how to do anything. We're weak. I don't care what tribe you go to, we're all weak, compared to our ancestors, because those guys lived right. They did things right. Even when they had to do something like this, it was for, I don't want to say good cause, but there was a reason behind it. And they took it serious, and they did what they had to do. And to me, these shows are showing that is real.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to you.
Well, like you mentioned, some of those, like they brought out the guy from NASA, and he's straight out of Alabama, like the headquarters of NASA, and but the headquarters, and he goes out and does these different tests. I mean, they use they use these big old balloons to try to get this meter up. And one thing that they did find out, about a mile up, everything dies. Literally a mile up from on top of that Skinwalker Ranch, everything dies. Batteries run out. That's one thing that I find kind of crazy about that ranch. Is like they go to these different homesteads, and there'll be spot radiation.
Yep.
Like, they went to Homestead 2, I believe, and in the first season, and one of the guys gets radiation poisoning.
Yep.
And he got radiation burns. So he had to take him. He had burns on his face, and they had to take him to the hospital. And he couldn't be out there for like a week. And another crazy thing that that I thought when they did an experiment was they did this experiment with the water. Chris, remember when they dammed the water up and moved it into this, because there was this hole. There was all these branches on top of this hole. Well, they uncovered the hole, and they put this green dye. They dammed up the water to push it into this hole. Well, they put this green dye. That water was nowhere to be found. They couldn't find that water, and it had green dye. I mean, it was like dark green. It was like as green as that Baja Blast, maybe greener than that. And that water was gone. And they looked all over that ranch to find where that water was coming up, because there was a creek that goes on the south side of the property. Mm-hmm. So they ran all these experiments, and to me, and just my opinion of it, I think that is proof that, when Chris talks about, things being doctored, or cursed or, medicine, whatever the phrase you use, that's the proof. And that because that's what all the thing I thought when I was watching those episodes was, this is just proof that the stuff that, indigenous and natives been doing for a long time is real. Because your electronic equipment, all the stuff that we got here could be turned off in an instant. So, Russ, I'm just kind of curious on what your opinion of just kind of stuff that, because I know that you're coming in blind a little bit.
No, I believe it. I don't know. It's just a feeling you have, like it's real. Like growing up hearing all this stuff, and then hearing about Skinwalker Ranch. And yeah, if it's cursed, then no doubt it's gonna be. I don't know too much about the curse thing until we started this, though, because I never really looked into it. But hearing all these things about nothing succeeding, and then that's what happens. Like you're talking about the balloon going.
Basically, it was a radiation
so
thermometer
all around there, even in the air, like everything's just dying or dead or just does not succeed, and so. It's crazy, but I was going to bring up, you talked about the whistling thing. So, Rob from Classic Wolf, we had an episode on Okie Podcast, because I have Halloween episodes coming up, but we were talking about how he did an episode like, it might have been in May or something, June, but he's a security guard, and he lives in Sackatone, Arizona. I think that's how you say it. If I'm wrong, correct me, Rob, but him and his buddy were driving way out somewhere, checking on some property, and they were doing an episode, and they were doing like a spooky episode. He does like those every once in a while, and he said that they were driving, and you could hear it, like the sound's kind of distorted because they're driving, and it kind of just, you could hear the car, like the wind put like, and they're trying to talk through the wind, but in the distance there's whistling, and finally, like the guy that's with him hears it. He's saying, "You hear that?" And it's like this faint whistle. It's like way out, but you could still hear it on the mics. And they kind of slow down, and it's like whistling. And it'll go for a while, and it'll stop, and it'll start whistling again. But it's like a continuous long whistle. And I think they get out and they whistle back to it. And it was like, I think it was evening time, so it was becoming nighttime. I don't know how close it was though to like actual darkness, but he said they got out and they did. I believe they did whistle. Rob, if I'm wrong on that, then let me know. But I believe they did whistle back. But he thought it was LPs that were whistling to them, and I think he said like it was getting. Like it was farther, then closer, all that stuff. And finally, like they were just going, and they kept hearing it. Like it was just with them. And then finally, like, or maybe they weren't working. I can't remember if they were working or not, but they eventually just jetted back out and left whatever they're doing. But that whistle was there, and you could hear it on the, it's so like, the wind is so powerful in that, but you could hear it like just this faint whistle in the distance. And then he was saying like, yeah, I think it's LPs. I think it was LPs that were out there. But after hearing that, your story about the Skinwalkers, and then in that area, I didn't even think of that, but I don't know too much about Skinwalkers anyways. Now I've heard a few people from IA have some stories that there was some in the desert near the school, but then again, I don't know how true those are either. I don't know if they were making them up or if they were like for real, like they were out there messing around and they ran back to the school and told everybody that they seen this like tall, like almost like a bushman or something. It was really weird. They couldn't really explain what they seen, but it was out there. So I don't know.
On one of those episodes, they had, what was it, goats?
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and that something came. They had it on video. Something came out there and tried to get that goat, and of course, they had all kinds of cameras on it, and they were able to go out and kind of, I don't know, save that goat. But dang, whatever it was, took a big old chunk out of that goat, and they couldn't figure out what it was because it didn't have any characteristics of any of the predators that are supposedly in that area.
Yeah.
And
It had it was like claws, wasn't it?
yeah. And so, when they studied it, and that's why I was saying, that's cool that they got these supposedly professional investigators out there doing these studies, that know, like these different predator bites and scratches and all this stuff to prove that, maybe, this is something other than a predator of that sort, out there, and it goes back to, to me, for me, it verifies that, that spiritual realm, that spiritual battle, I always refer to it, using that Indian medicine, and doing things, and I don't know if you guys can find this, but Ghost Adventures had this episode there in Navajo country, and they had caught this being by this waterfall, or not waterfall, but just centered by this house, and it shows up and then it disappears, shows up and disappears.
Like a ghost, or is it just is it like a flesh and blood type thing?
It's a spirit, and they've got it. And to me, this happened on Navajo reservation. And to me, I thought that was a prime example of those skinwalkers that I encountered at that Santa Ana Pueblo reservation.
While he's looking that up, that one episode I think is pretty crazy is the one where they get the cattle that died by heart attack or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in the meeting or in their little, what do they call it, the command center or whatever, some goofy name, whatever.
Yeah.
And they look up, remember, and they see that cow. There was all those clusters of those cows, because one thing too that something's around is when cattle lump together.
Yeah.
That's number one thing. And that cow that died, and then they went over there and they basically tested for radiation. And the radiation was like off the charts on that cow. And in the second season, they come back and that cow is all, no predators have ate that cow. So whatever it had done, or whatever, had killed this cow, none of the other local predators, coyotes, foxes, none of that stuff, they wouldn't eat it. And I thought that was pretty crazy, in that episode, because in the very top corner, you can see a little metallic shape. I can't remember what episode. That's in the later part of season 1. Then they come back and revisit it in season 2. But, that to me is so crazy, that cow literally was just with its herd, and they all got herded up in this corner. And then all the herd of cattle then moved back to the other part of the pasture, and that one cow literally just falls over.
Yeah. The thing I think is cool about it, that whole show, though, they'll have pictures of, they consider it like UFOs. They'll throw like a light in the sky or kind of like a black entity in the sky. To me, that's that spirit of that old medicine, though. It's not no UFO, you know, because that thing appears right before something happens.
Exactly.
And to me, that's proof right there about those spirits that you can conjure to do things with.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, people always say, oh, it's UFOs, or it's got to be from outer space, or, like they showed that diagram of how far it goes up. That's its domain right there. It's been put on that land to make sure nothing succeeds. And, to me, this is just my opinion, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but that's my opinion, that is proof that whatever curse they put on there, that it's real. Mm-hmm. People don't want to believe that. They want to believe it's all this other stuff, but
extraterrestrial type stuff.
Yeah, and all those negative things that show up there, they all have the same, what do you call it? It's all relevant, to cause nothing to succeed there.
Yeah. Yeah, that Skinwalker Ranch, is something else. It's just, they did so many experiments. I mean, they even did the bottle rockets.
Mm-hmm.
They even tried to put bottle rockets up there, and they got those bottle rockets that are like, monster size, and they go up like 2 miles in the air, and these things were literally at a mile just dying.
I would love to have those, though, to be honest. I'll be blowing some stuff up, boy.
They don't have it on here.
Oh, the video from Ghost Adventures?
No. They just have a bunch of voices and look what we caught on this camera.
Did you look up, like, Ghost Adventures in Navajo Nation?
I put Navajo Reservation, Navajo Nation. The same stuff just pops up all the time.
Mm. Let me see what maybe...
They don't want the real.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't want to show the real stuff. They just want to. They want to see a fake hand touch Zach. What is his name? Zach Baggins.
Yeah. Let's see.
I have to bleep that out and come and get us.
What'd you say?
I said name. Is that Zach Baggins? Whatever his name is.
Oh.
I have to beep that out so he ain't coming for us.
He didn't do nothing.
Well, I know they got one of those shows. I don't know which one it is, but what it is they go to this house on the Navajo Reservation. They have a trailer next to that house, and it has stuff in there too. But right in front of that trailer and in front of that house, there's a circular thing, and something always appears, and then it kind of like disappears.
Mm.
And to me, all the stories I've heard about skinwalkers, that right there should be proof enough.
Yep.
But
yeah,
if you guys have time, I would scroll through and watch all those Ghost Adventure ones that are on Navajo Reservation. And what's also cool about that Navajo guy that's on that show, he's got a Bigfoot shirt on. And I thought, man, that's awesome. He's got the only Bigfoot shirt I've ever seen that I ain't got. So I got mostly all of them.
Dang, gotta catch them all, huh?
I know it.
What did it look like?
I know it's red and black and has Bigfoot. It has some kind of like Southwest design on it.
Ooh.
So I want
That's
that
wicked.
shirt. So if you guys know where that shirt's at, let me know. Hit me up.
Sure, make it for him.
Yeah. So
I know. Make it for him now. No, hold you hostage.
But no, I think that's cool. A lot of these, they also had another ghost show that went out there, and I can't remember what the name of that one, but they stayed like a whole month out there, and they caught all kinds of different spirits, on that Skinwalker Ranch, and they mainly focused on spirits, which I thought was pretty cool. But the thing I thought was awesome was all the spirits that they had roaming around, and they referred to it, there was a lot of battles that was taking place, so they think it's the spirits of those old, tribal people that, went to war with one another, and which, it could be, but, to me, the way those shadows moved, they weren't in war, they were roaming, they were on the hunt. And man, I want to say it was like Ghost International or something like that. One of those shows, and I watched that, and I thought that was pretty cool. And to me, it was just another example of that this stuff is really real. Yeah. They've got a lot of different entities on that property that causes havoc, and again, to me, I relate it back to the original curse.
Yeah.
Whatever. I even heard a story that they did military exercises on that property too, so it's probably a lot of fallout from those we call it those atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And radiation from those bombs that they put out that's causing all that stuff. But, again, the original curse was way before then.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
So that, to me, it still trumps even if it is atomic stuff,
I'll tell you what's pretty wicked too, though. And this is something maybe you might know something about this. But when they did so in the house, they were doing some testing near the house, the main house where there's people that stay there now, like they live there. They're like the caretakers of the land. They found this concrete box. It was basically a concrete square box with a in the middle. Like there's nothing that can get in this thing. It's sealed. And the people that are living there are like, yeah, we always hear something down there like moving around. Well, then they go down there and there's like their meters are spiking up, going crazy, like going off the charts. And they go and open up this cement box. And Chris, I don't know if you remember this or not from that. I think this might be into season 1. They open up that box and there was literally, it looked like almost like a sacrifice. Like there was like a how I say this, wood, but it was all charcoaled up, and it looked like a ceremony of sorts in this box. So I don't know who could get in there and get out. I guess we do know. I guess we know. But we know who could. But basically, they get into that box, and it smells like smoke. It smells like sulfur. It has this like terrible smell. And one of the guys actually I think passed out. He smelled it, and he was in there for a little bit, and he started kind of dazing out, and they had to pull him out. But, it looked like almost like an effigy, like something type of, like it's in a circle. There was all this dust here, and you could tell that no one had been there in a while. But literally there was no dust. Like, I mean, there was dust, but I'm saying like there wasn't any dust around this little thing. It was like a little, like wood, a little bit of, I guess you would say grass, the stuff that you can kind of burn that starts fires. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And they found bone down there, in this concrete box. So, Chris, I don't know if you want to speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of weird stuff, like that. Again, to me, it's just another proof that, that negativity is real. Even the things that you explain, you don't have to be a genius to figure out. Mm-hmm. Somebody did something there at that property. But the thing I really liked, and this is just me, again, no offense to anybody or anything like that out there, they talk about the original home, the home that's out there now, that's the second home. The original home, it was so bad, all the paranormal stuff happened so bad, they just left it as is. And to this day, it's still, people just kind of ignore it. But they went out there to investigate it, and as soon as they got out there, that one guy, he started getting dizzy and almost fell out, and they, had to take him away from there. Again, to me, that's proof right there. There is something there that's not playing. It's letting them know. That it's there, and he's not the only one that experienced it. They had several of those guys.
That hand, remember the field hand with the gooseneck?
Yeah.
He got that bulging head or whatever.
I know, it stretched his head out, and he still went back out there. I said, dang, man, I don't know about that.
That white boy crazy.
I know. Said, stretch my head out. I think I'd leave it alone. I said, God.
He's the one, and that's so crazy about that guy. He'd always be like, all right, let's go ahead and dig. It's like, come on, fool. Last time y'all was digging, you look like Conehead, man.
That spirit just went. He quit digging after that, boy. I said, man, that's crazy. But, if any of our listeners, are listening to this and you guys got stories about there, maybe you guys gone out there and, traveled out there and visited, let us know if you've been out there, because my understanding, there are people that's gone out there and got to visit and, experience things, and they even did ghost investigations out there. And I know Halloween's coming up. You guys want to send someone out there, let me know. Y'all want to send me out there, I'll be more than happy to go.
Chris be out there going nuts. I already know he be going crazy out there.
I'll be coming back with my head stretched out all kind of ways. No.
Holding it, doing the pods in my head.
talking about the little shrunken heads, you know.
It'll be like a snake
Wow.
holding that bottom part.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got a lot of weird stuff that go on. But to me, I like watching these shows because they think it's everything else. But going back to the original thing, it's that curse, guys.
Yeah. Russell, any final thoughts, man, on Skinwalker Ranch?
A lot of great info. I know it's real, and I mean it is. It's got to be that curse. And there's so much that goes on there. When you guys talk about the UFOs, like, would you say back in the 1700s, the guy seen he said it was a metallic deal that flew across the sky. That made me think of Nope, that movie Nope.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that, Chris?
Huh.
Man, you got to watch Nope. It's really, I liked it. I liked Nope. A lot of people didn't like it because I guess they're expecting something.
It was weird. It was weird.
They're
It was
expecting
off.
something like real, like little aliens, I guess. But like the final, like, I guess, big movie monster was. I liked it. It was different. It was it was a lot of things that people describe as like an angel, I guess. That's what I thought it was too. I thought it was an angel or something, but I mean, it was like this giant. I don't know, something you can't. It wasn't like a human shaped thing.
It looked like drapes.
It was just like this giant, like something like you would only probably never see in this world. And it's really, it was a really cool like build up to it, and it kind of reminded me, like you guys talk about Skinwalker Ranch, like that ranch, like it kind of like it makes me think of like Skinwalker Ranch, like what the ranch they were living on, and this thing was there. Just causing destruction almost, but it was a living thing that was so dominant. Like that was its place. I mean, you got to watch. I don't want to spoil it for you, but you got to watch it.
Yeah, even one of those episodes, they took all those scientist dudes to one of those local reservations that they had. How do you say it? Hieroglyphics.
Oh, like not like hieroglyphics, I think.
Yeah,
or stone paintings or something. Like that.
Yeah, stone paintings of the old ones and aliens on there, and they had these are old drawings, and so some of it might be, I don't know, but I want to believe, and it's just my opinion, that don't have nothing to do with aliens. It has to do with that curse. And maybe that they called upon those aliens to curse that land. I don't know. Again, what entities that do these things, they come from all different places. So, maybe they talk to, those sky people to do something like that. I don't know. So.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a lot of people, reach out to me like, hey, I know some things about Skinwalker Ranch, like, yeah, because I'm really, I love watching those shows, and I heard the documentary that I watched was The Hunt for the Skinwalker. Another thing, I guess I'll plug, George Knapp back in 2005. He actually interviewed Bob Bigelow, and all his scientists and people, and he wrote a book about it. He wrote a book about his times because he was visiting there all the time. If you don't know who George Knapp is, he was Coast to Coast radio host for a lot of years after Art Bell, and then he also now works in Vegas as an investigative journalist. So he wrote a book. I think it's called Hunt for the Skinwalker, I believe, is what the name of the. It's weird how they're all named the same thing, but yeah, there's the book that was written in 2005. Then you got the documentary that came out in 2019, I believe, right before COVID. Then you got the show that Chris and I have been kind of talking about back and forth. But no, good episode. I like this. Yeah, it was. I didn't put it into. That's one thing I like about hearing Chris's opinions on things. Is I didn't think of it as a curse. I thought of it as extraterrestrials. But as I explain the history of things, you put it in perspective. Like, oh, that makes total sense of why all this weird. I mean, they're seeing Bigfoot, they're seeing Dogman or werewolves, they're seeing lights in the sky, they're seeing lights coming from the tunnels, from the caves in the path of the Skinwalker on this ridge. They're seeing lights come up. I mean, there's random holes being dug up in the pastures. Cow mutilations, like, that makes total sense. These people ain't supposed to be here. It makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that Art Bell, that radio thing was real?
Which one? What do you mean?
Remember when that guy called in and wasn't he like being abducted or something?
Oh, dang! That might be a topic for another time, because that's we could that, because that's a great topic.
Yeah.
Basically, this guy stole. Was it Transformers or something? There's two different. Yeah, he stole.
There's two different ones. Yeah.
But yeah, you might be talking about the guy, one where the guy, he was basically getting abducted every night, basically.
Yeah. Have you heard of that one?
Have you heard of that?
Art Bell.
No.
It's a radio show, right?
Back in the, I want to say back in the day, like it's 80s, 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone else hosts it now. I think it's George Norrie that hosts it now, but yeah, that was wicked, because then there was another one where the dude was like, hey, I stole converters to time travel.
I heard that one once. I have to hear it again.
Yeah, I haven't heard it in a long time. Well, this is another thing too, that they're, not to be all conspiracy guy, but that's kind of who I am. They're deleting all those interviews of those people. I can't find them anywhere.
Oh, dang. I was going to show you after this, but if we can't find it, then...
Yeah, because I looked up, I tried to find Coast to Coast, because I was going to listen, because, eventually, guys, we're going to do an episode with Missing 411.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming up. We all have been doing our research on it. It's going to be a very long episode. There's going to be a lot of cases. Chris has got some stuff. I know Tyler's got the movie analysis. I have cases that I've been researching, and I know Russell has things that he wants to talk about on it too. But that's one thing that when it comes to that, it's just interesting where everything's being wiped.
Mm-hmm.
I literally searched Coast to Coast Radio, nothing. Couldn't find it anywhere.
What?
I don't know. It could be behind a paywall now too, though.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. OnlyFans? Just kidding.
God.
No.
Dang, he said he's got to take over for Tyler. Hey, by the way, Tyler's not with us. I don't know if you guys can tell.
Dang, we forgot to mention that Tyler is sick. Shout out to Tyler Randall, though. Are missing, so we got these two in place for him. About to fight.
God.
If you're watching YouTube, you just seen what I pointed at. But yeah, shout out to Tyler Randall, Skoden Cinema. He got sick, so hopefully it gets better by the time we record 411 soon.
Yep.
Yeah,
excited for that one.
And let's be real with it. It might be a two-parter. I mean, because he's literally, David Paulides is literally releasing cases every week, like new cases, like 2022 missing people cases, and so I could talk about it for days. I mean, I really could. That's the topic, and one thing too that people have been saying, it's like people are like, hey, it might be this, might be that. Like we had somebody at the live event mention it and say that what they think it might have been. So I'm super pumped for that episode.
Yep.
Speaking of our live event, was there any weird things that happened, like hominy? Like, was there a person there that nobody knew of, or anybody come up to you with any kind of strange stories during the event?
Not during the event that I know of. Just everybody was messaging me saying that they had a story that they wanted to tell. They didn't get a chance to tell, but we went there for a long time, so I don't know, but maybe if we ever get a chance to come back, we'll give everybody another opportunity. And we got other events coming up, so if you didn't get to tell your story at Pawnee, catch us at Creek Nation or Ponca Nation or Call Nation or Osage Nation. these ones are coming up pretty quick. So
You follow October 21st.
Yeah, you follow as well. Come hit us up and you follow, or you'll have several opportunities to tell your story. So if you didn't get a chance, I want to invite you to come back to one of our events and tell your story.
The next one's Purim, Oklahoma,
Is that on a Saturday?
October 8th.
Yeah, that's a Saturday.
Okay.
So we'll be there in full effect, and I think you guys are going to be surprised. I got a special treat for you guys that come down there. So you're going to have something going on. So come
Chris,
check us out.
Could you, I guess tell everybody, is there a certain spot we're going to be at Purim? Or are we going to be, is there going to be like, because last time when we were at BA, we had people scouring for us. Couldn't find us. Is there a certain spot we're going to be, or are we just going to be in the mix?
It's going to be a surprise.
Oh, okay.
So you guys come down and check it out. And, we're going to have the full crew there, hopefully. And if everybody stays well, and definitely keep us all in your prayers, because I know flu season's coming up. So, again, we want to make sure everybody's in good health and, doing right and doing good. And, Tyler, we hope and pray that, he gets back on his feet pretty quick. So,
yeah.
hope.
Sure.
Cut it right here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for the listeners who sent us stories.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciated those. If you have stories, send them to us. Instagram, Facebook. Follow us on TikTok. We go live. We try to go live every other Sunday when we can. And Wednesdays, we're trying to make it every week, but stuff happens. So
Yeah, life happens.
I mean, it don't matter. But
You'll catch us on there.
yeah, you'll catch us on there, and we'll announce it the day before or whatever. But
also to the Gmail, unsolved reservation mysteries at gmail.com.
mm-hmm.
Send your stories there. Russell kind of sifts through them, and if he needs anything, he'll send it to us, and we'll read it on air. But appreciate you guys listening for sure.
Yep.
Share this. Tell everybody you know. Rate us. Review us wherever you listen to the podcast. Go ahead and plug yourself up.
Yeah.
Yehola Tiger. Yehola Tiger on Facebook. One Man Band 918 on TikTok. I was just in Eureka Springs. I posted a video of a ghost, or I guess really a ghost investigation / ghost tour that we did over there. Kind of a weird thing that happened with one of the drains. But go check, go. I guess what is it? Follow on there? Jeez, yeah. Go follow me on there. I'd like to promote John Tiger Artworks too. That's my uncle. Give him a message. He might have something for you.
This is Chris Hill. You can follow me on TikTok or Instagram under Christopher Honka Hill. I got several stories on there. Again, check it out. Again, we'll be at different events this coming October. Aho and Mado.
If you want us to come to your res, your community, or whatever, email me, that email that Yehola gave out, or message us on Instagram or whatever. Wherever you can find us, try to send us a message, and we can work out something to where we can come to your res, or even Skinwalker Ranch.
Yep.
Let us know. Send us over there, whatever. We'd love to check that out. I think it'd be interesting to kind of have our own experiences there. Pretty scary, but still, I would be down for it.
We'd be really deucing.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
My bad.
Oh, whoa.
Got those depends on deck.
Hey.
But follow us on TikTok at reservation_mysteries. Follow us on Instagram at unsolved reservation mysteries. Facebook, Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation. You could follow me as well, Rustimus49, at Okie Podcast as well. Check out all these episodes on nativeoklahomamagazine.com, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation as well. go like our videos, comment, talk amongst each other, hang out, and share the videos so we can hit the algorithm. And one last thing, I want to remind everybody, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. Everybody give us 5 stars on wherever you listen to us, Spotify, Apple, wherever. Give us that. Or 1. It don't matter.
No, don't give us 1. We'll come for you now.
I'm not telling you what to do, but
5 stars, please.
But the next episode will be Missing 411 for sure. So, till next time, stay spooky, everybody. And don't forget to smudge.
Motto.